Hello everybody, and welcome, of course, to the semi-final between rOtK Fan Club and, it says Bhutanized, but it's actually Hehe Gaming. I'm going to be your co-caster this time around. My name is Briefcase, and with me is my lovely co-caster Mito.
What's up, guys?
And of course, this is the weekly ESPL series hosted by Eat, Sleep, Play, meaning that there's going to be $100 on the line for whoever comes out on top by the end of today. Only the finals are left after this game, so stay tuned for that. Beyond that, after 3 months, I believe in, what is it? March, I want to say, near the end of March there, we're going to have a final thing. $5,000 at the very least in the prize pool for that one, as well as Speed and Sigma Gaming showing up for that tournament, and the top 6 teams going towards that as well. So, I mean, this is a slowly evolving event, and only the top 6 teams will be going, so, I mean, let's get into it and see exactly how this draft is going. Right off the bat, obviously, Alchemist is banned out, but a Slark actually being banned out as well. And that's one here I just haven't seen banned too often. Sometimes he's not even picked up, but he can throw a huge wrench into certain strategies and just against certain heroes.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a hero that if teams like to run base strats around that hero, it's so strong. But it's just like, essentially to me, falls in the same category. Sure, they're very different type of heroes, but it falls in the same category as a Wisp. Let's look at Fnatic. They always pick up Wisp and Tiny, or like Wisp Morphling in the old days, and they make it work, but no other teams like to run it as frequently as they do. And to me, Slog is, it's also somewhat of a niche pick. Teams that make it work are really good with it, and as a matter of fact, it's still really popular, this hero. It's always commonly paired up with, say, Shadow Demon or Bane Elemental, and that's a good ban, I would say. Personally, when I draft, I never let Slog out.
No, just don't want to deal with him?
Yeah, but Queen of Pain is a pretty darn good answer to Slog, because all your skills, except for your Shadow Strike, are not target based. It's AoE. You can just throw him down even though he pops his ultimate.
Oh yeah,
you can always blink away from trouble.
Yeah, and of course Timbersaw quite nice at that as well. But Timbersaw being picked up once again. I think we've seen him in, has it been every single game we've casted so far today? Out of 3,
yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, out of 3 games, Timbersaw has gone every single time, and now an Enchantress actually being picked up. What feels fairly early to me, and obviously will give quite a bit of extra pushing oomph to Bhutanized, or Hehe Gaming, as they're otherwise known. And with an Invoker and Clockwork, rOtK Fan Club is off to a pretty good start as far as how well they can gank. With a simple hook and cogs into Sunstrike, I mean, almost anybody will fall to that.
Oh yeah, but when you pick up an Enchantress so early, it's that I guess they looked at the heroes, and you see Invoker and Clockwork, and you kind of think of, hey, they already have the mid solo and the offlaner, so they most likely won't pick up, rOtK Fan Club most likely won't pick up a hero like Clinks. But then, from the past games we've seen by rOtK Fan Club, they love their push strat, and I have a feeling this is once again gonna be the same kind of game we saw previously, heavy pushing. They have the Invoker, they have the Venomancer. Sure, Clockwork isn't a great pushing hero, but this hero gives you the great initiation. Say you're up against heroes like Keeper of the Light, that just keeps on defending your tower, and you just can't go high ground because you have nothing to disrupt the fight. Clockwork is your go-to hero. He just jumps in, initiates, create chaos, and then Invoker has the easiest follow-ups of his life.
Oh yeah, I mean, he just sows so much dissent into every fight that, like you were saying, Invoker, one of those heroes that really does want to land his spells because they're such high impact, can basically just land them willy-nilly, and he's going to be having a really easy time with that. And Venomancer, like you said, rOtK Fan Club, they might be going for this really heavy push strat, not quite as heavy as it looked like in the past, where they went really, like, I wouldn't even say 5-man all in, but it was just devastating the amount of summons they had, and was absolutely terrifying. But it looks like right at the moment, Hehe Gaming, I mean, still pretty well suited to deal with such a strategy. Elder Titan with his Astrals and Split Earth can really put a huge dent into pretty much all and every summon they throw down. Maybe not so much Plague Wards, however, so they have that going for them. But Timbersaw as well with that Chakram, as long as Hehe Gaming doesn't get destroyed in the early game, it looks like they're well situated to stop these pushes.
Oh wow. Hey, by the way, just on a side note, I love the way you say the Radiant team name. You just sound like a pervert.
Gaming? Yeah, thanks, man. Why? It's not my fault. It's their name. I have to say it like that.
Yeah, but they're starting. I don't know what they're gonna pick right now, but they need some form of lockdowns. Enchantress, sure, if you get the right creeps, that would be your lockdown. But Elder Titan, Timbersaw, they don't offer much. These are follow-ups. You need some form of initiation. Sure, Timbersaw can get Blink Dagger, and that would be an initiator. But from the way I'm looking at it is, it's all about counter initiation that the heroes Butanize has. And with this pickup, they hopefully, first thing, offer some form of lockdown. Second thing, an answer to Necrophos. So if they didn't pick up the heroes so early, once again, I would say a Nyx Assassin would be a great hero to pick up, just constantly mana burning the Necrophos, or even an Invoker, but that's already been taken as well. So I'm just trying to think of the potential heroes that can burn mana and take away everything Necrophos has to offer for a team.
Well, I mean, there's a few. Obviously, you have your anti-mage, you have your who am I going for here? Nyx Assassin, like you mentioned. Anybody who really does get a pretty quick diffusal will be doing A-OK as well. But I mean, do you think this is going to be a carry Necrophos or just a supporting one?
Carry Necrophos. I think support Necrophos is just too weak. You run it if you're gonna run a Necrophos, it should be a core, and your strategy should be centered around pushing. rOtK fan club, their last pick, probably another something like Rasta, provides an additional lockdown, provides tons of pushing, and they can take Roshan really fast, and they have sustainability with the Necrophos, constantly healing everyone. Yeah, so.
What do you think of this Dazzle pickup of all things? I mean, obviously it's good for the sustain that it'll give them, but I mean, it still seems like it's going to be difficult to fight into a Necrophos, to fight into Venomancer wards. Obviously they'll have Enchantress creeps and Elder Titan trying to do whatever he can with his Astral and maybe an Echo Stomp, a Split Earth, but right now it just seems like rOtK fan club, at least in my eyes, if Hehe Gaming tries to push into them, I'm not too sure anything's going to come out of it, and rOtK fan club seems like they have the starting of a push strat that won't end.
I think I know what Butanize wants. I'm placing my money on Naga Siren. It seems like Naga Siren is exactly the kind of hero they're looking for. But I might be wrong. But I'm hoping I'm right. It sets up perfectly for Timbersaw, Elder Titan, Shadow Priest, and Enchantress can walk his creeps, her creeps, and position them well. And with Elder Titan and Timbersaw, pretty good defending towers, and Naga can get the split pushing going. And you can always use the Naga illusions to cut the creep wave behind, to completely stall a push.
Oh yeah, but I mean, we'll see how they play that out. Obviously, now a Rubik actually being picked up, and I mean, just more disable, some nice spells to steal on the floor already. Getting something like a Timbersaw Chakram or a Dazzle Weave or even just the Dazzle Heal. If he happened to steal that one, it feels like rOtK would just never have to go back to base, guaranteeing that Venomancer and Rubik obviously get their mana boots in a timely fashion. But yeah, who do you think Hehe Gaming? Just love saying it. Who do you think Hehe Gaming is gonna pick up?
I still think it's gonna be a Naga Siren, but maybe I'm hoping we'll see a Meepo. I don't know how Meepo is gonna function at all. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but I'm dying to see that hero in higher level games. Yeah.
10 seconds. Oh yeah, well I mean,
or even
I guess we'll see. Shadow Fiend though.
Ooh, okay.
Being picked up, and against an Invoker, I mean, now with Invoker's recent buff, who would you give this one to?
It's gonna be a mid solo Elder Titan, and it should be a carry Shadow Fiend. Or Elder Titan's offlane and Timbersaw mid. The SF definitely isn't gonna go mid. Otherwise, who do you have farming as a carry?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I mean, yeah, I guess you could But I mean, you can't really have Enchantress lane. You can't have a carry Enchantress in that way. And with that, let's get into who is actually going to be playing who right now. Looks like we have a little pause going out anyway. Gives us plenty of time to get into who is who. And looks like on rOtK, we're going to be having Riksu as the Clockwork Muzz going to be playing this Venomancer. Yate.exe going to be the Rubik. Fip going as that mid Invoker, I assume, and Corrin, Necrophos, this carry Necrophos, I suspect as well. And my man Mito, would you like to take Team Hehe?
Oh yeah, sure, absolutely. So we have Hua playing the Timbersaw. Not quite sure whether it's going to be a mid or offlane Timbersaw, because both Elder Titan and Timbersaw can mid and as well as offlane. We have now. Okay, I have no idea how to pronounce the name, but how do you pronounce this name?
What name?
The Elder Titan. How would you pronounce it?
Nihis. Or Nis.
Nihis.
Or you
Alright,
just
sure.
ignore the H, whatever.
Alright, and then we have the support Shadow Priest played by Chipshar Jen, and then we have Natural playing as the SF. And finally, we have a Moment playing the support Enchantress.
Oh yeah, so I mean, if anybody's got a hard name, you can just call Hua Hua. He's gonna be fine right there. I'm gonna be calling
You're right.
Chip Hajen. I'm gonna be calling him Chip because that's just so much easier. What do you mean I was right? What's going on?
It's gonna be a mid-solo SF.
Told you, man.
Probably.
Told you.
I don't know.
Well,
Okay,
doesn't look like it's gonna be Elder Titan, but lots of pings coming out on the map. Not too sure why. It looks like they want to maybe go in and find a pickoff, but I mean, a Moment doesn't have any creeps, obviously. It looks like they're trying to make sure Enchantress can actually be pretty safe up here if they ever want her to be, but now just throwing down wards, trying to block stuff and make sure that rOtK just doesn't get any pulls available to them.
Oh wow. So this is not what I was expecting from Hehe Gaming. SF just starting up with a salve at mid, knowing that Invoker's damage isn't... Oh, okay, so it's an Exort Invoker, so it is pretty hard. I'm surprised SF isn't starting up with a Wraith Band and getting additional pulls from supports. He's gonna go mid. I just feel that Timbersaw or Elder Titan will have a much easier time at mid against an Invoker.
Oh yeah, and that looks like Chip protecting this rune quite nicely and eventually does take it, making sure that Yate.exe doesn't really get anything out of it. And I wonder if actually Chip's going to run into some easy sentry ward placement by Yate. Not too sure about it. It seems to know what's going on, and I think it's going to come down to, can Yate find this ward with that sentry? It's a pretty easy one, and they do actually find him now. Is there a lift available? They do have one, and Chip in a horrible position is Venomous Galed, and that's going to be the first blood going the way of rOtK. Nice little sentry by Yate, and it just so happens that Chip was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, things... I don't know, these lanings, I'm just slightly baffled, like, the way he places it. So having the Timbersaw go up against the Clockwork, sure, Timbersaw is going to have a pretty good time with the reactive armor. But once Clockwork gets a couple of... Oh, Clockwork went for level 1 Rocket Flare instead of Paracogs. But if he went for Paracogs, he can completely burn out the Timbersaw's mana and start using the Battery Assault and potentially pick up a solo kill. But the Enchantress is smoked up, and yeah, he's currently rotating behind Riksu.
Oh yeah, there he is, and he's got a clapping tomato to his name. Doesn't look like Riksu, that Paracog's not actually there yet, so I mean, Riksu might fall here. Some beautiful body blocks out of this tomato. Can this last shot finish him off? And no! It looks like he will get out of there with his life, so a Moment, despite having some nice blocks there, not able to finish him off, and that would have been an even easier out if he had those Paracogs, like you mentioned. And I mean, we've actually seen this matchup multiple times throughout the ESPL series, just Timbersaw right against a Clockwork, and in my experience, it can go completely either way. We've seen it go Timbersaw's way, he gets a few solo kills, and we've also seen Clockwork find a few kills himself.
It all comes down to how well the Clockwork uses the cogs. If he constantly gets the cogs, then yeah, he will have the opportunity to get solo kills. But whereas if those cogs miss, then Clockwork will be in a lot of trouble. The Rolling Death is just going to punish him pretty hard.
And actually a nice little bit of creep control coming out of this top lane from rOtK, actually pulling into this big jungle, and actually they have enough. They're all ranged, of course, all max, not quite. Muzz with only 450 distance to his attack, but 600 on Rubik, and it should be actually only 550 on Corrin, but I mean, it does make a little bit difficult for Nihis and Chip to actually get in even EXP range, so a nice little bit of creep control coming out of rOtK in the top lane there.
Yeah, SF and Timbersaw, they're both getting the last hits in, so they need this SF to snowball out of control, I feel, or even the Timbersaw. One of these two heroes will be the key to be able to deal with rOtK's push, because if that push ever comes online and Hehe's heroes aren't big enough, wow, it's just gonna be like the previous game we saw from rOtK.
Oh yeah, and now it looks like Rixu's picked up a bottle of his own, gonna give him at least a bit more mana to deal with Hua, and he actually is just not using his cogs that much, just basically relying entirely on none of those. And now Hua does make a little bit of a move, gets a Timber Chain, and of all things actually, Hua's actually picked up an Orb of Venom so he can try and chase down Rixu. Now with Battery Assault though, and a cogs bursting him back a little bit, Hua can't really go in to find the kill. As I say that, there's an engagement up top. Looks like Nihis has actually been forced to put a point into Echo Stomp to try and get these kills. It looks like Corrin able to just get out of here alive. Sunstrike goes, does not land, however. And it looks like just a little bit of dance going back and forth in this top lane. Chip not able to find a kill. And now a moment is right there. He's got a Satyr, throws out a Kamehameha. Isn't going to be enough. Chip's been slowed now as well. Corrin right in the midst of things. Needs to be really careful here, but Shallow Grave now going to protect himself from this. Might actually fall to the Venomous Gale. Not too sure what level it is, but it looks like Nihis chasing him down and beats him in the back with his stapler, guaranteeing that he doesn't get away. And Chip not falling as well. Has Shadow Wave, obviously, can eat some trees. And so, I mean, that engagement going quite nicely for Hehe Gaming.
Oh, bottom. Wow, why did the Clockwork decide to max out Rocket Flare? This is such an easy solo kill, but oh man.
Well, nonetheless,
he
has maxed out Rocket Flare, and because of that, it just looks like Timbersaw having a much easier time on the bot lane than he should be. And with now 2 points in reactive armor, Hua can basically just sit, make sure that he gets all those stacks from some creeps, and then basically just sit back, gain enough health to go back in and fight. And with Rixu not getting any more points in Power Cogs or Battery Assault for the damage, there's really almost no chance of him getting a solo kill, it feels like.
I feel he's playing.
Now it looks like Natural in a horrible spot. Oh, just melts immediately. Tries to take down Yate with some of those Shadow Raises, but can't quite get enough going on. And now it looks like a moment. Finding Muzz does get the slow, but now getting a slow and himself in the Clapping Tomato might not be enough to actually finish this. And it looks like a moment, never finding the creeps that he really needs, and now he will be falling as well. Yate getting the lift, making sure that he isn't getting out of that one. So rOtK getting a free kill there, and Muzz having to limp home and just barely slither back there.
Yeah, that was some good rotations. And Clockwork, he was about to use his hook, but realizes, hey, I can actually save my hook for the next gank. So they get the kill, and now Rixu still has a hook. He can always make a rotation elsewhere and find pickoffs.
Dire's middle tower is under attack.
Oh yeah, now it looks like Nihis, constantly harassing with that Astral Spirit, now has a point in Natural Order, which of course is going to be helping his team into the mid-game quite a bit. But, I mean, if you just leave Necrophos up alone, yeah, he can stay in lane, he can harass a little bit, or I shouldn't say harass, but he can stay in lane. He's got the sustain, obviously, with Sadist as well as Death Pulse, but, I mean, he can't really be feeling that comfortable all the time, just because Dazzle's got that slow, and Nihis can, or Nihis if you want, can go in and really run him down if he wants because of Shallow Grave.
Yeah, well, a lot of the times Necrophos gets a really bad start. It's just kind of how the hero works. It's easy to kill during the early game phases. But I remember there was the time where Mushi had 0 for 8 on Necrophos. But it did manage to turn the game around, because as his hero gets some space, gets the farm he needs, suddenly he's so hard to deal with. He's got so much heal, he's like a walking fountain essentially. And
Oh, yeah,
I just
and-
want to
Go ahead.
ask you, do you know a trick that people do? It just reminds me, Huska plus Necrophos, if they both have Aghanims, essentially guarantees a kill. And there's another one as well. Shadow Demon with Huska. If you get Aghanim Scepter and Ethereal Blade on Huska, it's 100% guaranteed kill, unless they have really high magic resistance. Because everything's percentage based.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, I've never seen the kind of shotgun Husker build yet, but I'm always interested to. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as these skill choices are, I mean, obviously Rubik going pretty much the standard. Muzz, though, is getting more points into Poison Sting, then Venomous Gale, then Plague Ward. I think that's the proper way to do it, I think, right now. Just trying to harass people down as best you can. And looks like that Astral Spirit actually not going to scout out Yate quite yet. Probably did see him when everything's said and done. And now it looks like Rixu, once again, just doesn't have the damage right now to try and take down Hua. Is TPing into the mid because they do see a moment now. Rixu has hit level 7, so he does get the latch. And there's the Sunstrike. And I mentioned this in the draft. As soon as you get that Cogs and latch and that Sunstrike, pretty much nobody, at least in the early game, is going to be able to live through that.
Oh yeah, pure damage, Sunstrike. Ouch.
Oh yeah, now they're trying to find Chips. Do they have a slow? There it is. And it did indeed land a throwback as well. Chips always does have Shallow Grave. Looks like they're trying to turn around, make Muzz fall for it. But with that big Reaper Scythe there, making sure that he falls. Not too sure if Corrin's going to get out of this one alive. The Sadist not able actually to make him regen through all that. And with that, is actually going to trade a support for your carry Necrophos. Not the best of trades.
Yeah, but they rotated. Let's see how many heroes are at top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so apart from SF, everyone's at top, applying pressure. I like this play from Hehe actually. This opens up opportunities for the SF. Make plays one-on-one against Invoker. He can spam raises. But in this scenario where your SF is a core hero, right? I believe in using your raises to take the creep wave. Switch your treads to intelligence. 2 raise, clear creep wave, go in and stack your big camp or medium camp. And if you look at the, he is doing that as a matter of fact. If you look at the medium camp, it's already been stacked up quite a number of times. I think that's 3 stacks total.
Oh yeah, it's 3 stacks. Unfortunate that there are mud golems, but nonetheless, he's gonna be able to get quite a lot of gold out of that one, and not only that, some nice amount of souls as well. So he's been sitting at max for a little while now, I feel as well. So doing a-okay for himself. Looks like Fip not too sure what to do. Do have a couple of rotations coming out by Yate and Muzz, but they do see it. Yate is shown, and Muzz as well by Chip just hanging out. So I mean, that's not going to be a very successful smoke right there.
Yep. Rixu, if he checks the rune, right, he's going to pick up an Invis rune, and it's a good time to start going for that SF. Oh, he's TPing top.
Oh yeah, TPing top with that Invis, and actually no ward there, no vision on the Radiant team. They're not gonna even really know that Rixu is there. But of course, not seeing him anywhere on the map. Hehe is playing very safely right now. Was using his Astral Scout about, so might feel a little bit safer. Might actually come out of his hidey hole in this tier 1, but it doesn't look like it. Just not seeing Clockwork on the map may be enough to make them scared enough and hide behind this tower.
Wow, good play by Hehe, just standing there, staying out of trouble. But at mid, Pip Shah Jen is coming in for a gank.
Oh yeah, nothing too much happened though. Oh, the big hook coming out of Rixu right there, but Natural has that nice shallow grave going on, throwing out as many shadow raises as he possibly can, and now Fip in a little bit of trouble, does get poisoned, but it doesn't look like it's going to be quite enough, and Rixu now might be trying to see whoever he can find. Big Sunstrike lands on a chip, not quite enough to finish him off, and now they need to be wary of rocket flares obviously as well. While that's happening, looks like Hehe is getting Dovin on this top lane as well, and with that, possibly getting this tower for their troubles. They do have 2 points now into Plague Ward. That might be enough even, and of course the healing coming out of Corrin going to be helping that regard as well. So this push looks like it might be enough to actually take this down. Doesn't look like anybody is quite ready to TP into that, so getting a kill, getting a tower, and getting a little bit more map control as well. rOtK, I mean, they gotta be ahead. If we look at the gold graph, it's actually Hehe who's ahead of all things in both experience and gold. Did not see that coming.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be even. To be frank. Yeah, both teams they traded for towers.
And now Hua gets
sure.
an easy solo kill against this Clockwork. Just throwing out the full combo, and Clockwork not quite having enough health to deal with it. And that's going to make Hua, he's actually getting pretty darn close to, what is that, Soul Booster already? Ooh.
He has enough money for Soul Booster. And this is pretty bad for rOtK if they let the Timbersaw get really big so early. He's already level 11, 12, well, almost 13 minutes into the game. And yeah, if he starts rotating, helping his team. Oh, but apparently he's gonna go for a BKB first. I say this is a great choice, to be honest. Yeah, this allows him to fight even earlier on.
Oh yeah, and of course with pretty much only exclusively magic damage coming out of rOtK, even into the late game, maybe Fip can do some nice alacrity plays and get something like a Necro Book or something along those lines. But most of their damage gonna be that big magic damage. So as soon as BKBs start really coming online for Hehe, I mean, I think that rOtK is gonna be in quite a bit of trouble, and especially if Hua gets a really early BKB, I mean, they can just force these fights as much as they could ever want.
Ooh, I want to see Blink Dagger SF.
Now it looks like Yate and Muzz, they have smoked up, but they actually are walking right into a trap, it seems, that Hehe has set up. These two supports, not too sure what they're doing. Nihis all over them, not really too much though. Sunstrike there isn't going to quite be able to finish him off, and a moment, not too much as well. Corrin just barely able to get that kill along with him, but a nice little hook shot in by Riksu, finishing off a moment, and now it looks like Chip still running away. Looks like Yate able to finish him off with the Fade Bolt, but still, that's a, what was that, 3-for-1 trade for rOtK? What I thought was going to be a horrible little, I mean, failed gank from them turns out quite nicely.
Ooh, yeah. That definitely went in the favor of rOtK, and this Invoker, once again, is like, it feels like Invoker and SF, they're both just farming away, not really doing anything to each other. It's like, hey, I'm gonna farm and leave me in peace. Yeah, sure, you go ahead, but let me farm as well. And if you look at Natural, he's gonna take another big stack. He's gonna stack it one more time and start just raising it away. I like this play from him. This helps him get a decent time on a BKB, I suppose.
Well, as soon as the stack is dead, he should have that BKB.
Yeah.
Right, so that's not bad. 15-minute, and obviously now Necrophos is basically just trying his very best to go in and push everything they possibly can, and I mean, it's working out very nicely for them. I think the only reason, really, that engagement up top went the way they did is because Corrin has that mech finished up. He just ran in, constantly throwing out those death pulses, and he basically just guaranteed that all of his teammates almost back up to full throughout the entire fight. It was just so difficult, and so much damage had to be done from Hehe to finish it up. Now it looks like Nihis able to TP out of there in time, and everybody else getting out as well. Looks like we have a stray fireball flying, though.
Wow, it's bad. Whoa, whoa, whoa. The two supports are just walking into each other. What's happening?
It's like Chip, though, is going to get sun-stricken and will indeed fall. No time to use that shallow grave. And, of course, when you do have that big amount of burst and pure damage coming out from something like a Sunstrike, that's really when Dazzle kind of doesn't work as well as you want him to. You can't really predict exactly how it's going to fall, and that shallow grave just doesn't work out how you want it to.
Oh, yeah. It's pretty unfortunate. He didn't get the tower. It got denied, but...
Now, big stun on 3 from Echo Stomp, but it's only level. I want to say that was level 1 right there, and yes, it was. Nobody able to go in. There's absolutely no follow-up, and with that, I mean... Looks like Fip, he's already picked up that Necro Book, so we are going to be seeing more and more push coming out of rOtK, just like we did in the last game. And, I mean, pretty sure this Necrophos, Belt of Strength, and Staff of Wizardry, if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be another Necro Book.
Yep. Necro Books, here we come.
5 Necro Book strat.
Hand-Midas up cooldown.
Looks like Natural trying his very best to take down Yate, and now a moment now throws in. Hua is there. Can't quite finish him off, though. The Death Pulse just healing him too much, but is able to get that Timber Chain in the last seconds to get him. Now it looks like Muzz not too sure what to do. Hua has been cold snapped, and with that, Timber Chain is just so difficult to land. Natural eating that Necronomicon pain with that, but I mean, not too much coming out of that. They get a tower, they get a Rubik, And then it just seems like both teams happy to back off. Fip really does want to get that Necro 3. Looks like Necrophos wants to finish his as well. And then they'll just continue to go in and try and get these big pushes.
Yeah, I say it'd be pretty good for them to pick up a Vladimir's offering as well. Not just because of the SF, but you also have the Shadow Priest. They're going to be dealing with a lot of minus armor if the Shadow Priest weave lands as well. So yeah, just getting some form of armor for the team. I don't know in Dota 2 does the buckler stack with the mech, but if it does...
I don't think so.
I don't think it does.
I don't think it does.
Okay.
I think they actually, it used to, I think, and then they changed it, I want to say. But yeah, like you were saying, the amount of negative armor actually coming out of Team Hehe is quite a lot when you think about it. You have Shadow Fiend, who's got his Presence of the Dark Lord. That's 5 minus armor right there. Nihis or Nihis, however you want to say it. Elder Titan's Natural Order, of course, going to be doing a lot of work as well. And then if Chip ever does get some sort of big weave, I mean, you're just going to get into the negative 10s, maybe even 20s.
Alright, so if this game goes very late, like the previous game, who would you give it to?
Super late? I mean, I feel like Hehe.
Let's talk about 60 minutes.
60 minutes? I probably want to go Hehe, but I mean, it comes down to, like, can Invoker get some huge combos off in a fight, and will Necrophos even be able to get killed? But, I mean, if Hehe basically has any amount of, like, BKBs across every single person in their lineup...
I like what Venom's doing.
That's some big damage.
You look at the Ancients. Not only that, the Plague Ward is completely blocking the path. Actually, 2 Plague Wards can already block the entire path, but nonetheless, it's a good way to stop enemies from interrupting your farm.
Oh yeah, most definitely. And then it looks like Elder Titan getting close to those drums now for his troubles. Not doing too badly. And yeah, it looks like Timbersaw, he's finally... I mean, has he finished up that BKB? I want to say he has. Yes, he indeed has. So they might want to start taking fights now. This is really when you want it. You get those... at least one big item against this lineup, and Shadow Fiend, he's got his BKB as well. Already used it once, but now with those 2 BKBs, I feel like Hehe really needs to start taking these fights, and if they don't, I mean, the Necros are just going to get upgraded on rOtK's side. It looks like Fip already has level 2, Korin still on his way, has gotten level 1 essentially, but they're just going to have too many summons to deal with, just like we saw rOtK play in the last game. It's just going to be too difficult for them to deal with.
Hehe will have a lot of minus armor. SF isn't too far away from Deso as well. I'm loving the way how Hehe is, how do you say it? What's the word I'm looking for? They're using the resources really well. They're constantly stacking up for the SF. I mean, 20 minutes, he has 160 last hits. It's due to the fact that he's been constantly stacking all over the place. And this is what I like to see on an SF. Sure, SF is a very flashy kind of hero. Sure, when you go get those like video-worthy, montage-worthy like turnaround kills, those are great. But when you're the main core hero in your team, you have to value your life and play somewhat safer and just maximize your farming potential. And he definitely is doing that as of now.
Oh yeah, and I mean, he's got his second Mithril Hammer now. He's getting closer and closer to that Deso. I think he should have it in, you know, like right now, pretty much. And with that, he does indeed have it. So he's got his Deso. They have BKBs. It really does feel like they need to start taking these fights and really forcing the issue against rOtK, just to make sure that those Necros don't come online too much. But there is a smoke actually coming down by a lot of rOtK supports, and Natural now caught in a horrible situation. Does he have enough backup though? A moment is there. Sunstrike will actually land, does almost all of his HP, and it's just so difficult to fight into this with Necrophos healing everybody up. Chip can't do anything right now as well, and it looks like we actually have a Necro 3 on, I want to say, Fip. Let me click on you. Fip indeed has a Necro 3. Natural can't really do too much about it, but a BKB Dua running in and just ruining everybody right now. Now Nihis coming in. He's got that stapler plus 271 damage. He's just man fighting this right now. Hua now without any mana available. Natural now, and it looks like right now Hehe turning this fight. Natural, can he actually finish off? Rixu can't quite find him, however, and with that, this Timber Chain, looks like we have Yate, Spider-Man in a way. Still though, you lost 2. You only gained 1. It looks like Hehe coming out ahead of that, and they are probably going to go in and push with this, I feel, as well.
is under attack.
Yeah, and don't forget, Enchantress can always enchant a Necro book. Necro unit. Actually, does it still work? It
I don't
should,
know.
right?
I don't know if Enchant does. Obviously, Helm of the Dominator doesn't anymore. That was one of the big buffs to Necroburk
Ah, okay.
recently, and I
Yeah,
don't know if
too many-
Enchant is available.
Too much like changes, man. I can't keep up with the changelog anymore.
Well, I mean, Helm of the Dominator used to be like a great counter to Necrobook. No longer, though, obviously, and that makes Necrobook just that much stronger. However, I want to say that Chen and Enchantress can still steal them if they want to, but I mean, I guess only time will tell, and if you want to look out for it in those
Hey,
fights.
Brief,
Yeah, what's up, baby?
you want to bet a rare?
What's your position?
Let me think for a bit.
Besides, you already owe me a Doom helmet. You already owe me another rare, I think.
Oh, you're talking about the Elephant Dune helmet.
Yeah, we never traded.
Sure.
Remember, you owe me.
Okay, so do you want to bet, can it be enchanted? I'm gonna go with yes, because that's the way I remember it. And
Yeah,
I
but for
believe it
me,
still
I
works.
also want to say yes. So this bet is just not gonna work, my friend.
Well, you gotta take a risk sometimes.
No, I'm not
Try
gonna
something
take that
different.
risk. I'm not gonna bet on something I don't believe.
Never mind. But yeah,
I mean, right
I'm
now,
awfully disappointed.
it's not the end of the world. Looks like Yate trying to make something happen maybe, but the Satyr enough, or the Satyr, however you want to say it, enough to take down that ward. And I just want to look at the gold graph pretty quickly now, and we see that at 24 minutes in, it's only 1,000 advantage in favor of Hehe, and that's about as much as it's ever been. If we look at the experience, a little bit more telling, however, about almost 7,000 advantage in favor of Hehe as well, but I mean, the gold just shows you just how close this game is at 24 minutes, and it really comes down to, will rOTK's pretty much massive push strat pan out for them, or will Hehe be able to weather the storm, deal with it with Shadow Fiend raises, which of course will be very well. Maybe Enchantress can steal some of those Necro creeps, and it seems like Hehe, well, I mean, they have way more capabilities to deal with that push than rOTK's previous opponents did.
Yep, and I'm just looking at the chat, and people are saying yes, enchant does work against Necro units.
All right.
So yeah, thank you, viewers.
Thank you, viewers. See, it's so nice to have like people watching, and they'll tell you actual things. Pretty nice, really, when it comes down to it. Because when you only have like 15 watchers, 15 viewers, it can get a little bit difficult to really poll everybody and see how they think or really, what the greater body of knowledge is when it comes right down to it.
Yep. Like the more I think about rOTK's lineup, right? I just felt that perhaps, just maybe, because this is, I'm just making assumptions here, but they need something to deal with the Shadow Priest, right? Because he's constantly healing up. They need something to deal with the Enchantress. And those are very squishy heroes. Can you potentially be looking at, say, Orchid for the silence? And if you don't want Orchid,
Radiant's
some form
bottom
of
tower
burst.
is under attack.
And Dagon is a great item for burst damage. And if you can take out those heroes early, like you take out the Enchantress, you take out the Shadow Priest, then the push would be much easier. Because even without items, right, just innately, rOTK's heroes are good at pushing. Because that's what the heroes do. Having Forged Spirits, having Plague Wards. But if they don't have anything to stop the Shadow Priest as well as the Enchantress from healing up, Timbersaw, Elder Titan, Shadow Fiend, it's just going to be so difficult to push.
Oh yeah, and I mean, it's just, yeah, exactly. It's just gonna be so difficult to actually push into, and they really do need a way to burst it down. They have some great sustain in their fights, but if, say, Fip whiffs his Sunstrike, whiffs some of his big burst spells, it seems like Hehe, they also have some beautiful sustain in and of themselves, and just want to briefly look at the net worth right now, and of course, Naturel doing very nice for himself, sitting at 14,000, and they're stacking even the Ancients for him. He's getting every stack imaginable, and he's basically just rolling in money at the moment. What do you think Shadow Fiend's next item pickup might actually be here? He's already got his BKB, he's got a Deso, they have all the negative armor that they could pretty much ever want, and I mean, the BKB is probably going to protect him from a lot of that magic damage coming at him. Do you think we'll see something that'll just give him like a heart so he can tank those necro pings a little bit better, or?
Yeah, if his teammate Timbersaw, say, would get a Linken's for him, and that way prevent him from eating Necrophos' ultimate, or do something, because this game, essentially, he only needs to tank up. He's not going to eat a lot of physical damage from rOtK. Actually, there is, from the Necro books for spirits. Yeah, so, essentially, just tanking up is the key here for him, I believe.
Yeah. I hear you. Now it looks like Hehe being pretty darn greedy right now. The entirety of rOtK also smoked up. It looks like they're going to scout it out with that Sunstrike, and now they're just not too sure what they're supposed to do. Riksu actually lands on the Satyr. A moment completely cut out, is able to force step up, and the Necro's flying. There are 3 on the board, but a big Echo Stomp into Split Earth. Actually, everybody force staffing out of there, though, just in time. Lots of things going on. Nihis almost falling right now, and right now, Natural, a big ult, and rOtK just absolutely melting an entire team wipe, and it looks like Nihis able to get out of there alive, does have a Venomous Gale on him, but doesn't really matter, and the negative armor now gonna make this Roshan kill very quick, very easy, and Hehe doing amazingly right there. Despite those beautiful force staffs getting out of the Split Earth, Natural just piling on too much damage to deal with.
Yeah, it's got 6.6k gold. At this rate, he can just pick up a Divine Rapier if he really wants to. Like you saw, as soon as the fight, as long as he's not being focused down, yeah, the BKB is more than enough to keep him up and running. So, if this is the case right now, Butterfly is pretty good. Assault Koryas is great because it helps him push even faster. But yeah. There are just so many options that he can go for, and every single one of them is going to be good for him.
I mean, sitting at a 7,000 big piggy bank, doing pretty nicely, and now it
Daedalus.
Oh yeah, Daedalus, of course. Just one-shot anybody who could
Enchantress
ever want.
got hooked at bottom.
Oh yeah. Nice find, nice find. Didn't quite see it, paying too much attention to incredibly fat SF, but like you're saying, now he's just going to be hitting even more like a truck, and it's starting to feel like rOtK, I don't want to say they're falling off, but they don't seem to have a good way to deal with this Shadow Fiend, because he technically doesn't even really need to kill those Necronomicon warriors if he can just beeline it and tunnel vision onto any single hero and kill him in 2 or 3 hits.
Yeah, what rOtK needs to do is just force out those BKB charges more and more. When they're all down to 4 seconds, then once again, they will have a pretty good shot. But they need a lot more items on the heroes. They need things like, if they can get Sheepstick on Invoker and Necrophos, then they have a good shot of turning it around. But now, Hehe, they're the ones that are starting up their push.
Oh yeah, and I mean, Natural, he's actually picked up an Ultimate Orb as well. More likely than not, I would assume, going into a Linken's, and that's going to obviously make things even harder for rOtK to really deal with this. And there's a Sunstrike onto Hua, as well as a slow. It looks like they're trying to make something happen. Yate can't quite get there in time. Beautiful little hook into 2, but Riksu maybe too far forward, and it looks like Hua actually pops the BKB and making sure that he doesn't take any of that damage. Natural just trying to man-fight these Necro Warriors and doing fine for his troubles. Now stuck with these melting strikes. Might actually fall to the Necro Warrior. It definitely seems that way. But his buddy, the Elder Titan, sacrificing himself so Natural can get out of here. And now he's actually hiding in the trees. Would have died there as well. Hua now actually gets up to the high ground and TP's out. And Yate just can't find him.
Oh man, I just want to look at the Elder Titan once again in slow motion. Like, that's what you call a true teammate, a true friend. Wow.
Oh yeah, no, nice little play coming out of Elder Titan right there. I mean, dead, not forgotten though, everybody will remember that. And now it looks like Yate stuck on this high ground, doesn't really matter, using that Timber Chain to farm up a little, and a moment just pushing out the bot lane as well. But the amount of Necros coming out of rOtK, we saw this in their last game, I think they only had 2, now they're sitting at a pretty 3 right there, and it looks like we have a crash coming out of Muzz. So I'll take this brief opportunity, of course, to mention that eventually, everybody, eventually, we will have a Dota TV ticket, and with that, there'll be a courier and it'll be $5, and it'll be great. But until then, until Volvo gets that going and does everything very nicely for us, I mean, this stream is basically all we got.
Ah, yeah, for Necrophos, he's realizing, hey, there's simply too much minus armor, and he's heading towards a Shiva's, I think. But I felt that they need the hex amount from both the Invoker and the Necrophos. Because as long as those BKB charges on 4-second, if they get enough Force Staffs on their team as well, see, they need quite a lot of items, but Rubik already has Force Staff and Blink Dagger, and whoever gets engaged upon can get Force Staff out of safety. If they can just buy the time for those, if they can bait out the BKBs until they're 4 seconds, or like just simply fight after the BKBs are off cooldown, by using Force Staff to get in and out of fights, then they can turn it around by hexing up the SF, and then throwing in all the damage they have, or just trying to kill the Shadow Priest as fast as they can.
Oh yeah, now it looks like we actually have Hehe trying to just barrel down this bot lane, see what they can do. They obviously see Rixu now, as well as Yate, and I mean, obviously easily going to scout them out with this Astral Spirit. Yate able to TP out of there, but there's just too much damage, and Natural going to eat a Sunstrike, doesn't even care, has his companion Chip throwing out the heals left, right, and center, and now it just looks like rOtK continuing to try and man up and force these issues, force these fights with the amount of negative armor and Daedalus that Natural has. I mean, they can just throw out an obscene amount of damage right now.
Yeah, and Enchantress pretty close to his Aghanim Scepter as well. And just throwing those imps, they hurt a lot as well.
Oh yeah, now looks like Chip in a horrible spot, gonna get lifted. There it is, and Chip gonna be falling here. Nothing that he can do. An easy pick off. And I mean, 40 seconds without a Shadow Priest right now. They might want to capitalize, but it looks like all the lanes pushed out pretty much too much for anything to really happen.
Yeah, and SF's net worth is just, SF has always been a flash farmer, but this is some great farm. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
He's
if we look at the
doing really
GPM,
well.
sitting at 639, fairly respectable in every which way. And now it's just like, it feels like rOtK, they're not quite sure what to do. They want to group up and man fight and team fight, obviously, with these Necros books. There's 3 of them on the board. But even that doesn't seem to be panning out too well. The more charges of BKB that they can burn, however, the better. But actually, Natural not getting a Lincoln's, instead going right for a Sheepstick. And I think that is a pretty huge item to get right away.
Yep, this will definitely put them even further ahead. And at the same time, Timbersaw has his Shivas as well. Yeah, I would say at this stage, Hehe, this is a great time for them to force out the fights, but maybe they just want to wait a couple of more minutes for the Roche to respawn, take the Roche, and then go for that big push of theirs.
Yeah, could be, hard to say. Now it looks like maybe, are we going to see any sort of smoke or gank or anything coming out of rOtK right now? The thing is that they're all grouped up, but they're not really doing too much. It seems like they're wasting quite a bit of time, maybe a little bit scared of exactly where everybody is, feeling that maybe Natural up top here is a bait, and I could see that pretty clearly as well. Maybe Hua will be getting in there, but no, Hua just constantly playing the defensive guy. He's got his Shivas, he's got his Chakram, he can basically stop anything and everything. And with that, it looks like we have 4 up top on Team Hehe, trying to set some things up. Natural being slowed, but doesn't matter. 2 shots, the Rubik absolutely destroys him. 2 shots, Muzz as well, with both supports out. This is now a fight you want to take. Natural, though, no BKB available. He can't really attack Rixu right now, and instead he just keeps canceling that animation. Rixu now melts, and it looks like Hua has TP'd in at just the right time, now chasing down Fip. The Necronomicons, just not quite enough. And who is going to eat those big hits? Instead, they try and make sure that it goes to some creeps, and they actually do that nicely. Hua now, though, just has so much regen coming out of that reactive armor. It looks like this is going to be at least 1 lane of racks. Is there a buyback by any chance coming out of anybody for rOtK? And it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. And just the negative armor going to be probably enough to help this out right now. And it looks like, yes, indeed, that must be an Enchantress stolen Necronomicon warrior.
You owe me one rare.
I didn't bet you. But now Natural, his BKB's back up. He's got his Gwynsoon Scythe again. Meatball, but pops the ult just in case. And once again, 3 shots at double shots. That Rubik once again. And it just looks like Shadow Fiend has too many deeps for rOtK to deal with. He's hitting for 380, and that's not even a crit, my friend. Now trying to turn things around. He still has an ult. 1 shot, 2 shot. Can Fip out? Fip does indeed fall. Rixu now Natural just decides to continue to fight with that man-modi shallow grave on him. And now with that Nihis plus 200 damage, he's trying to staple punch everybody down. But that animation getting canceled quite a bit by this battery assault. And Chip in a moment now, just trying to find him. One impetus would definitely put him over. And actually finds him right into some cogs underneath a tower. This is not what a moment had in mind. Chip not able to save his friend, and the Necro now streaming in after him. While that's all happening, looks like Chip dead to rights right now. You have Nihis able to get that melee racks, and not quite the range though. Feeling a little bit too scared of that. Hua now going in. Needs to be a little bit careful here. The Necros will hurt him quite a bit, but nonetheless, Hehe, or Hehe, with a very successful push into the base of rOtK.
Yeah, the Hua just has too many charges on the Bloodstone. That was what? Was it an instant respawn? I think I saw a couple of seconds, that was it. Or did he even die? I'm not even sure.
I don't even know anymore, I have to say, but it definitely seems like he was a big player in that engagement, did fairly nicely for his team, and now it just feels like rOtK put completely on the back. What can they do? They just need to roll over if they were a turtle, of course, get back onto those front legs, try and crawl away to safety, see what they can do, but I mean, yeah, Venno can stop these pushes nicely with those wards, but it really doesn't matter when your Shadow Fiend's hitting for 700 damage crit. It's going to be very difficult. Hua able to TP out of there in time. Looks like Rixu deciding not to throw down the hook shot. Not sure he would have found him. And with this, Hehe, they just need to take this Roche, use all that minus armor they've accrued, and take it down early. A Medallion has actually gone down on Dazzle, so this Roche probably going to be taking about 10 seconds. And it looks like rOtK trying to scout it out with a Sunstrike and a Rocket, but just slightly mistimed, and that's going to give a little bit of window where Hehe might be able to find it.
I love SF's item choice. He just bought up a completely new BKB. The 10-second BKB is what he really needs to just stay in there and just dish out all the damage. Yeah. Necrolite, if he wants to, he can buy up the Shivas right now, but at this stage, he most likely is saving up for buyback. But his buyback's still around 3.5 minute cooldown.
Oh yeah, and I mean,
I don't know.
While this is happening around the Roche pit, and Hehe is just kind of baiting things out, trying to see if they can't get a Roche, rOtK's base is actually getting killed very slowly right now, and it looks like they're just constantly dancing around this pit. rOtK is completely split up. Not sure if that's how you want to play this. Yate in a horrible spot. Looks like Rixu going to be falling to the impetus. Big slow on all of them, but they did take out a Shadow Fiend for the trouble. Split Earth might be enough, and it looks like Nihis with his stapler plus a 200 damage. Fip, not too sure what he can do. Yate actually got out of there alive, it seems. I just thought he was definitely killed, but now it looks like a moment chasing people down with impetus. Do they have any detection available? There it is, so Fip gonna fall as well. A full team wipe for a Shadow Fiend. Not too badly. Necro's still available, but Hua is just too tanky for words. Doesn't even care about that damage, and now the Necro's going in, and there's the GG coming out of Rixu. And with that, Team Hehe, gonna be going to the finals of the ESPL Weekly Series number 2.
Yeah, what I wanted to say was Invoker and Necrophos should have just bought up all the items. That would have been the deciding fight if they could have won it. You know, they won it. Sure, the base is getting wrecked, but it will help them maybe to keep the hope alive.
Oh yeah, but nonetheless, that's how it played out. So thank you everybody for tuning in to the weekly ESPL series number 2. I am your host and caster Briefcase, along with my handsome and lovely co-caster Mito, and we should be having the finals coming up in hopefully not too long a time, so don't go anywhere everybody.